everyone, Emily from Autofy. Wanted to talk to you today about our single record sync feature. This is a really good feature in that it allows you to test one record at a time or sync one record at a time. This is really good for when you are creating a new workflow or a new step and you want to make sure that all the information is syncing over from your source to your destination object as you expect it to. Also, if you only have one record that you need to sync, the single record sync option gives you that capability as well. It's just a really good way to test your information without having to run a full sync. So what we're going to start with today is a single record sync of a Salesforce product to an item. So as you can see on my screen, I'm actually going to be looking at step number 2. And when you're doing the single record sync, it's a really simple process, but depending on what object you're syncing from, you're going to need to gather a little different information than other objects. So in this particular one, we are syncing from our Salesforce product object. And in order to run a single record sync, we're going to click on this magic wand, and that is our single record sync. And it tells you right here in this pop-up exactly the information that you need to run your single record sync. So for our product to item sync, it's telling us that we need the Salesforce ID for this product. We're going to go into Salesforce, and the ID can be found in the URL right here. So you're going to find it after the name of the object and below the word view, or next to the word view. And you're just going to copy that Salesforce ID. So we go back to our workflow. Go back to Autofy. I'm going to paste this in here. I do want to make sure that there are no spaces before or after. And then I'm going to click on sync. What's going to happen is I'm going to see this little pop-up, and it's going to tell me what the sync is doing. So it's going to validate our connections between Salesforce and QuickBooks. And then if you click on this, especially if it's a larger record, and we'll do a transaction sync in a little bit, but it's going to show you exactly what's going on during this sync process. So right here, it was able to push this brand new item called Animal Cookies-24. So now let's go over to QuickBooks to confirm that the item synced over. So it did in fact sync over. Here is my record. And what I can do is I can compare between QuickBooks and Salesforce that all the information I need did sync over. So we had a successful Salesforce product to QuickBooks item sync. Now maybe what we want to do is sync an item from QuickBooks to Salesforce. So I'm going to create a brand new item. And let's say that this is Animal Cookies-32. Of course, I can include all of my required fields. Now, when I'm syncing an item from QuickBooks to Salesforce, what I need is the name of the item. So to make it easy, I'm just going to go in and copy that particular item, and I want to make sure that that window is closed, otherwise Autofy will not be able to connect to QuickBooks. So let's go back to our workflow here, and this time we're going to do step number 1. Another thing to keep in mind with single record syncs is that it's not going to do anything with your created or modified dates, your last successful sync time. It will ignore that. So even if you have a record that is 3 months old that you want to get synced over, you have the option to do that with the single record sync, because we do ignore the created or modified since date. I'm going to do the single record sync for my QuickBooks item to my Salesforce product. And I'm going to click on sync. It's letting us know that this did process successfully. So let's go into Salesforce and look at all of our products. And here is our new product, animal cookies. And everything's synced over as expected. So now we've gotten items out of the way, and I did mention that we would do a transaction sync. So let's go to our Salesforce QuickBooks workflow over here. And what I want to do is I want to sync over an opportunity to an invoice. Now, when a single record sync is occurring, it is looking at all of your filters and the preferences that you have set. We don't ignore those. We just ignore the date. So I'm going to go look for an opportunity that I can sync over as an invoice. And let's say this particular opportunity, I do have products on there, so it should sync over. Now, if you don't have products on a transaction that's syncing into QuickBooks, it will fail because QuickBooks does require that you have at least one line item. So just like we did with the item, syncing from Salesforce to QuickBooks, we are going to take the Salesforce ID of this opportunity, and we're going to use that to sync this over as an invoice. So I'm just going to paste that into my single record sync and hit sync. And just like when the item was syncing, we can look to see what's going on during our sync. So now let's go into QuickBooks. And we are going to go to our customers. And right here, I can see I have these invoices that's synced. And here is my invoice. Easy enough. So single record syncs, really good way to test to make sure everything is being mapped as expected, getting one record over without having to run a full sync. So if you guys have questions about this process, make sure that you reach out to us at support@getautofy.com, and also make sure you hit subscribe down below so that way you can be notified anytime new videos are posted.